Southside Regional Meeting. My name is Dave Paul, and I'm one of the commissioners of the CRDC. With me today are my fellow commissioners and neighbors, Jeff Cabot, Avery Frost, Monica Sarazuela, and Commission Chair Malik Moore. The Council Residential Districting Commission is a collective of residents formed to draw maps creating 9 residential districts in Columbus. We're excited to be here on the south side of town to hear from you. How do you describe your neighborhood? To which area commission or civic association do you belong? These questions and more are what we hope to answer here today, as well as receive general feedback on the 2021 districting process. We're doing this work ahead of drawing the first drafts of the city district maps to ensure that we know what matters most to you about your city and your community and why. A reminder that this meeting is currently live on Facebook, YouTube, and CTV, Columbus's government television channel 3. We will have some time for WebEx attendees to speak later in the meeting, but if you're viewing through Facebook or YouTube, please write your questions and thoughts in the comments section. We will be including those comments in our overall feedback. During the first 2 meetings of the CRDC this year, we heard from local speakers about a few different topics relevant to our districting work. If you would like to go back and watch any of these presentations, you can find the recordings and the slides from the presentations on the CRDC's webpage, which is www.columbus.gov/districting-commission, all one word. My fellow commissioners will now briefly highlight some key points from those presentations. The first is the Voting Rights Act. Avery?
On the Voting Rights Act, we heard a presentation from Kyle Strickland, and the Voting Rights Act requires our city's districts to be drawn fairly, considering the racial makeup and diversity of the proposed district. Gerrymandering, aka packing, is something to avoid in our work. We want our districts to be proportionate to the electorate.
We had a presentation on area commissions and civic associations presented by David Huey. There are currently 21 area commissions recognized by the City of Columbus and supported by the Department of Neighborhoods. There are also hundreds of civic associations, Black Watch groups, and other organizations throughout the city. These organizations serve as catalysts to change not only in their neighborhoods, but at City Hall and beyond.
Thank you, Commissioner Cabot. And next up is Columbus Growth Patterns. Monica?
Yes, thank you. We had a presentation by Kevin Wheeler and Mark Trevillis on Columbus Growth Patterns, where we learned that redlining and the construction of the interstate system drastically altered some of our neighborhoods, specifically our neighborhoods of color, the effects of which can still be seen today. And we know that Columbus has grown substantially and continues to be one of the fastest growing cities in the Midwest.
Thank you, Monica. And last but certainly not least, our chair, Malik, is going to remind us of our conversation about Columbus neighborhoods.
Yeah, we learned a great deal about Columbus neighborhoods, their history. We had a presentation by Doreen Uhal-Sauer, and we saw how our neighborhoods are diverse and they have transformed over the years. We learned a bit about the parts of town and their unique history and how that history has shaped the neighborhoods we see today. And we also recognize that it's important to consider the differences and the similarities between neighborhoods as we draw the districts that we're charged to draw.
Thank you, Malik. Again, you can view these presentations in full on the CRDC webpage. Before we move into the main discussion this evening, we have a short presentation from Naya Walters. Naya is the in-house counsel and legal analyst of Columbus City Council, and she's going to teach us about the residential districting survey that we're promoting in conjunction with our weekly meetings. Naya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good evening. My name is Naya Walters, and I am the project lead for the Council Residential Districting Commission. And tonight I will be introducing our survey. This survey is designed to solicit feedback from you, our residents, on what you think is important for the CRDC to consider when they are drafting the maps that will produce 9 residential districts for council. This is a historical moment for our city, and we cannot do without hearing from the voices that matter most. This survey consists of general and specific questions around districting as well as demographic information. There are a couple of ways to access this survey. You can visit the CRDC website at www.columbus.gov/districting commission, or you can go directly to the survey link, www.surveymonkey.com/r/Columbus districts. Your participation in this survey and this process will help to ensure that the final map is a reflection of our community's voices. Before I end my presentation, I do want to show a brief screen share of how to reach these these surveys. So Ms. Burks, can you give me screen sharing capabilities?
You have it, Naya. You just want to click your share button.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
As you can see here, if you head over to our website, columbus.gov/districting commission, you will scroll down, and the third pictograph, it says take the CRDC survey, and that will direct you to the website. So you can click this link and go here, and that will take you to the survey, or you can go directly to the survey using that additional link that I provided, or it's surveymonkey.com/r/Columbus districts, and that will take you directly to the survey. And that is all I have for this evening. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Naya. We hope that everyone here will fill out the survey. Again, you can access the survey through the CRDC's website at www.columbus.gov/districting commission, one word. To kick off our discussion this evening, we've invited a few area commission chairs from the South region of Columbus to speak and share with us their thoughts about districting, what is most important to their organizations, anything else relevant to the work of the CRDC. First to join us tonight is Eileen Neal. Eileen is with the Far South Area Commission. Eileen? Ms. Neal, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Oops. No, ma'am, you muted yourself back again. Okay, that's perfect.
Okay. I sent briefly.
Welcome, Ms. Neal.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here and represent the Far South Side. The first thing we'll start off with today is the stats about the demographics and the stats about the Far South Area Commission. I forwarded this to Mr. Moore today. So let's talk about where our boundaries are, in case you don't know, and the people that are listening in. We are to the north, State Route 104 on Lockburn Road, east to Refugee Road, and south on Allen Creek Drive. To the south, City of Columbus Corporation limits. To the east, west side of State Route 33 to State Route 317 to Hamilton Road. South on State Route 317 to south on Pontius Road to the City of Columbus. Corporation limits that are excluded are OBEX and the City of Groveport. The Far South Columbus Area Commission has 24.87 square miles. We are the largest, I guess I would say the largest in square miles in all 21 commissions. So we have a big area to cover. That's vitally important as we try to link up with residents throughout our area. What I'd like to talk about is the communities served under the commission area. Crest Acres Civic Association, Marion Franklin Civic, Seattle Southland Civic, Three Rivers Civic, Hamilton Highland Homeowners Association, Madison Mills Civic Association, Green Hill Acres, and Cambria Addition. I put a little information down here about the demographics of the Far South area. The population summary for 2018 is 32,161. Projected forecast for 2023 are 33,440. Population by race and ethnicity, 2018, white 63.6%, Black 29.5%. Projected 2023, 60.5% white, 2023, 31.6% Black population. Hispanic population 2018, 3.0, 2023, 3.5. The median household income for 2018 was $42,488. Projected total income 2023, $47,352. The median home value 2018, $91,044. 2023, $98,468. The median age 2018 is 38.2. 2023, 38.5. Owner-occupied housing units, 2018, 58.9%. Renter-occupied, 2018, 35.2%. 2023, owner-occupied, 60.1%. Renter-occupied, 34.3%. This information was obtained from the City of Columbus Department of Development in September 19, 2018. So I thought that was interesting facts that gives you an idea of what our communities look like on the far south side. Are there any questions on that, or you want me to just complete the process? Any questions?
Commissioners, any questions? No, please go ahead and proceed.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a little background history on the far south. Historically, we have been challenged by zoning codes, manufacturing, industrial. That has precluded our communities from being viewed as viable and investable for businesses that would like to move into the area, or their reluctance not to move into the area. So what we are challenged with are the lingering effects of a community that has been put in a position with manufacturing zoning codes. We do understand that zoning codes are now being reviewed. In this process, your help is needed to see the value in our community and the assets that we currently have, how we build upon those to make a vibrant community for the far south side. We met with City Council in March of 2021 to discuss, one, the economic reinvestment challenges that we as the communities face on the far south side. We asked for their participation in identifying and working with us to come up with how do we get companies to reinvest in our communities. This is a hard process because the die has already been cast when businesses don't see us as viable. Actually, they probably see us as invisible, okay? Let me just give you a couple of examples of comments that I've heard. What is the rationale for me wanting to move into a community that doesn't have the resources to support us? Okay, they're talking about economics. They're talking about what value are they going to get out of their investment? And we all know that that's a formula for them. They do want to see a return on their investments. We understand that. But we are stuck in a position where we need reinvestment. When we talk about reinvestment, we're talking about small businesses where we can have we have no retail establishments. This might sound odd, but we can't buy a pair of shoes. We can't buy a dress. We have no retail outlet. Thus far, the emphasis has been placed, and I think there's a miscommunication, because when we talk about reinvestment, we're not talking about Dollar General stores. It seems to us, because we constantly see it, that any reinvestment in the far South Side community has been a Dollar General or Dollar Tree or Family Dollar. Now, not saying that those are not good companies, but they are not companies where we can buy the accessory apparel that we need. We need a mix of investment opportunities for the residents on the far South Side. That's what our hope is. That is what I want you to clearly understand when you begin to look at redistrict. How do we improve the status for communities who have been viewed as invisible, not through no fault of their own, but through practices that have led us up to this point, and now we're screaming and saying, hey, where does it stop? And where do we start a new beginning? And that's what we're asking for in our community. When I talk about investments, we're talking about retail establishment, pharmaceutical, a medical facility, housing revitalization efforts, funding for safe and affordable housing, senior living facilities, family entertainment. This might seem like a small request. We don't have a movie theater. We used to have a movie theater on South High Street. We have nothing to entertain family, what I consider to be family entertainment. Those are the kinds of things we're looking for. That's the small business development side, which we would greatly appreciate your input on as you begin to restructure these 9 council seats. Then I want to talk about the infrastructure economic improvements that we need. Far South Side is one of the oldest communities. We've been one of the best work engine for the city of Columbus. It started here, folks, and then they migrated to the north and forgot all about the far south. That's the dilemma that we are dealing with. And as a result of that, our infrastructure, our sidewalks, our lighting, our surface drainage, street paving, and community signage. These are things that we need. Now, I'm hearing you think, so I'm saying, yes, we did call 311. Yes, we did present these concerns to the city. It's not new. Our biggest issue for residents on the South Side are the manufacturing salvage sites that we have in residential areas. We have not addressed a company called Ace Iron and Metal, which is in a residential area called Cambria. That community has been in constant environmental court with that company since 2001, in and out of environmental court. That company is currently in environmental court. It is now taking a look at how they reduce their piles, and piles, folks, are just the salvage that they've had piled up for years. and they continue to have the repeated issues. So that's what we would like to have some support, some input from you is how do we make this work for these communities that are next to these types of operations? And going forward, that we don't revisit that and put these kinds of sites in communities. Now, I know C2P2 has said that this will not be a practice going forward. Okay, I just want to make sure that we get it out as part of the Far South. Okay, that's the other issue. We would like to see stronger enforcement policies for salvage operations within residential areas. Okay, transportation services on the Groveport Road corridor. Now that's a hard one to crack because Groveport Road has no sidewalks, none whatsoever. I don't know how we tackle that, but our kids can't go walk to school because there are no sidewalks. The city of Columbus Board of Education did not want to provide busing services to these students to go to Marion Franklin. Well, who would want their kid walking on Groveport Road with semi trucks and everything like that? That's an ongoing issue. So we're throwing that out there as an issue that we really need to take a look at as to how we could possibly resolve that. But I think I've talked about that. The sidewalks and the lighting, that was from all of our communities that we actually surveyed and went and spoke to residents to say, what are your needs? This is not something that we came up with. These were their needs. So I share that with you so that you understand some of the needs. So let's talk a little bit about what we would like to see from the redistricting. Well, I'm going to just say it very calmly. We would like to see one of these council seats directed toward the Far South Area Commission, of course. And I'm sure other communities and other commissions do too. But in order for this process to work for us, we need partners, number one, who have the willingness to recognize that change is needed and will carry the ball to assist us in making change happen. We can't make change happen by ourselves. So we would solicit this redistricting committee to take a look at how we do that in a partnership form. And what is important for the commission to consider when creating these districts, that all communities have value and how to connect their values with your mission. That's important. I think I talked a little bit about the commission concentrating on how the new zoning law changes will impact how we do business and how it's going to impact the residents today. So let's talk about what's going well for the commission. Going well, we have an outreach program that was developed by our outreach coordinator, Lori Fisher, regarding what the Far South Area Community or Commission offers. We ask them for their input. We provide what is available when seats are available on our council, on our commission, how that process works, how they apply for it, to elicit from them their ideas and their support as part of the commission, making them aware that the commission exists only because you are residents. That's why it was formed. How do we assist you?
Ms. Neal, thank you very much. I need to cut you off only because we have a limited amount of time to hear from 3 separate area commissions. But I understand your comments. I did want to ask you one question, but before I do, let me turn to my fellow commissioners and see if they had any questions for you. No, I just wanted to clarify, you mentioned that the population of, and I think you're talking specifically about the area served by your area commission, is currently around 33,000, but it covers a large area, about 25 square miles. That density is low, but I assume that density is low because it is a heavily industrialized area. Is that true?
I think that would be one factor, but I think the other factor is a lot of it's rural area, less.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Now understand that this information came from the City Planning Department of Development. So
right.
This is their data.
Okay. I hope you'll stay on the line because we may have an opportunity to come back and ask you some other questions, especially after we've heard from some of your colleagues in the other area commissions. So I hope you'll stay with us here for a little while.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. So next up, we have Jim Griffin, and Jim is with the Southside Area Commission. Jim, are you there?
There we go. Sorry about that. Thank you.
That's all right. Welcome.
Good evening, Commission. I probably am going to be fairly brief. I was told that I had about 3 minutes, so I don't have a whole lot, but you can always, get back to me if you have other questions for me. The Columbus Southside Area Commission was established in 2008. It consists of 9 separate districts. Each district has a recognized civic within those districts. Let me look at my notes here. The boundaries for the Columbus Southside Area Commission are, our north boundary is the south side of Livingston Avenue. The south boundary is the north side of State Route 104. And then the east boundary is Alum Creek. And the west boundary is the Scioto River. I think what's important with this districting plan, where we're going to establish nine districts that will replace the current 7 council members who are elected at large. I think the issues that are important are transparency, responsiveness, outreach, and certainly honesty on the part of our government officials. In terms of the issues that we face here, and I need to add that our boundaries, there are 28,004 people within our boundaries. That is the population that was provided to me by the City of Columbus. The issues that we are dealing with here are issues that are citywide: crime, drugs. The 43207 zip code is the epicenter for the heroin problem in this city. We also are one of the infant mortality is another major issue that we are facing here in this community. Human trafficking. It's clearly a balancing act, and we know that. We have finite resources, so we have to think wisely when we are deciding how we're going to use those resources. I think it's important to consider when this districting plan goes forward is clearly the size of these districts and the population and the racial makeup of these districts, which has already been presented at the beginning. So, I mean, that's still, it's always good to hear it again and repeat it. What this new districting means is clearly it's change, and it's something that we're not used to. I've been a resident of the city since 1966. So going from what the current council makeup is like to 9 districts is change, which means a lot of unknowns. And I guess one concern I personally have is, once these 9 districts are established, will the districts pit themselves against each other for resources and programming? So that's a major concern that I have. And also that some other pros, I guess, would be that viewpoints that may not be citywide can be represented by these council members, and minority candidates may have a better chance of being elected, and each voter has a specific council person that he or she can contact as part of this districting plan. And then just finally, some cons. Candidates may be elected with very few votes, and the best qualified candidates may be concentrated in a few districts. And depending on staggered terms, not all voters may be voting each election, reducing overall turnout. So those are my comments, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Again, I'm going to turn to my colleagues real quick and see if they have questions. I'm not seeing any. One quick question for you, if you don't mind. In Ms. Neal's conversation with us about the Far South Area Commission, do you agree with her in terms of what you see as issues in your neighborhood? Are there commonalities, or do you see the issues in your area being different? Okay.
Well, I would just point out, and I'm sure many people know this already, but the South Columbus was where the industry was placed, where a lot of companies that were considered less, they didn't want them in their part of the city because of smell and environmental issues. Like, we had a steel plant here. We were the center for glass making. So we were this part of Columbus was a very industrial, a major industrial center for the city. And starting in 1979, when Federal Glass closed, that was the beginning of the decline. And then the most recent blow was the fact that the Columbus Steel Castings closed, and then they later tore down the facility, which has left a significant development opportunity, and we're still waiting to hear what that site may hold for us. But yeah, it's I definitely agree with her remarks. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I hope that we'll be able to come back to you here shortly, maybe with some other questions. Let me go ahead and move on, though, to our next speaker. If you can stay with us a little while, that'd be great. So next we have Patty Spencer, and Patty is with the Southwest Area Commission. Patty, are you there? Ms. Spencer.
I've
See you,
unmuted
but
Ms.
we're not
Spencer.
hearing you yet. Ms. Spencer, are you there? Okay, and Ms. Spencer is unmuted in WebEx, but perhaps is muted locally on her computer or phone. Okay, Ms. Spencer, we're not hearing you. Angela, everything looks okay at your end, right?
Yes, it does. We are going to try to give her a call here.
Okay, all right. So let me suggest, again, I had just a couple of questions for the previous speakers, if it's okay, and maybe that will also give us a little time for Ms. Spencer to join us. So hopefully both Ms. Neal and Mr. Griffin are still on the phone. Again, you mentioned populations on the order of 28,000, 33,000 in your respective area commissions. And most likely that means, because we, again, only have the ability to create 9 districts, and they must be very similar in population, that your area commissions could potentially be represented by 1 council member in common. And so that was part of the reason for my question about similarities, differences. between the issues and the makeup of your neighborhoods, of your area commission boundaries and so forth. And whether you felt that you could work together with a common council member and tackle those issues, or if the issues were different enough that you felt perhaps we need to look at some adjoining commission area or geography. So I guess that's kind of an open question, and I'm hoping it'll be a short answer, only because Ms. Spencer might be here in a moment, but please go ahead.
Well, I don't know what Jim's thoughts on that, but my thought is, I've never quite understood why they broke up the far south with the near south. That was done by the city, so I guess I take from that they thought there were unique differences, or they thought that they wanted to tackle issues independently of each other. I'm going to give you my opinion. I'm not sure that a lot of my commissioners would agree with me, but I would not have a problem joining commissions, because I'm going to use this term, back in the day, that was the only actually commission that we had, was the one that Mr. Griffin currently serves on. Okay, so I wouldn't have a problem with it. I can't speak for the entire commission body. Okay, that would be my comment.
Thank you, Ms. Neal. And Mr. Griffin, anything to add?
What became the, oh, there we go. Sorry about that. I was part of the task force that created the two area commissions here in South Columbus. Initially, the plan was we were going to create one large area commission, but we realized that it was just too large geographically. And so 104 became the boundary, our south boundary and the north boundary for the far south area commission. And I will point out, and Ms. Spencer, I'm sorry, not Ms. Spencer, but the chair of the far south side area commission has pointed out just how significant the rural area is of her boundaries. I mean, that's the Hartman farm, and there is still a lot of that land is still farmed. Now, I know that there has been some talk of trying to develop more of that into manufacturing or light manufacturing. But, you know, I mean, that area goes all the way to the northern boundary of St. Joseph's Cemetery. So it's huge. And I think I know that we can work together. There's no question, because I think we really do have the same issues, you know, safety, crime, jobs, healthcare, affordable housing. I mean, those are things that we share, and they're huge challenges. And but you know, I know that we can all work together, and we've worked together in the past. So we have a record of working together.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Appreciate that. Angela, have we been able to bring Ms. Spencer on the line?
Yes, I believe so.
Very fine.
She is
Ms. Spencer,
working.
if you're there, welcome, and thank you for speaking with us. Excellent, thank you.
Oh my gosh. So thank you guys for helping me get into this thing.
We're pleased to have you here. So hopefully you've heard some of the ongoing or previous conversation, and hopefully you can add a bit of perspective from your area commission. Again, Patty, you're with the Southwest Area Commission, is that right?
Yes, I am. I have a whole little thing written out here because I got kind of thrown into this. Our president is on a personal thing, but let me get started if that's okay.
Please, thank you.
Okay. Thank you and good evening, everyone. My name is Patty Spencer, and I'm the new zoning chair for the Southwest Area Commission. Our president was called away on a family emergency, so I'm stepping in for her and totally kind of clueless, which is okay. I was just appointed the zoning chair in January, and most of the rest of our commissioners are also fairly new at this. So we all are learning as we go. The Southwest Area Commission's boundaries are to the south, 270, to the west, the railroad tracks, to the north, Mound Street, which includes like Cooper Stadium, and to the east around 104, and also part of it to the Scioto River, which is on the other side of Berliner Park. Also within our commission's boundaries are pockets of Franklin Township, the county, and also Jackson Township. So all of us have differences in what the zoning needs might be, but we also impact each other on a daily basis. Our demographics, the information that I was able to pull up comes from 2010, and a combined city and township, because I had to call Franklin Township and ask them what the population was 17,628. And obviously, we've grown so much more since 2010. We had a meeting the other day, and part of our new mission statement for the upcoming year was that we wanted to focus on our city parks. We have 3, Stone Ridge, which is where I live, McCoy, which is next to Berliner, and Willow Creek, which is off of Hardy Parkway. Between all 3 parks, there's only 1 bathroom. 2 parks have a playground for children, and that's the extent of the amenities for our community. We were brainstorming how within these parks we can bring our community together, and some of our biggest requests have been things like upgrades with picnic tables, pathways and walkways, shelter house possibly. And some of those things can be done as a 25-year ex-Boy Scout leader for Eagle Scout projects for the kids. And along with upgrading our parks, we were also like to advocate for a community rec center. We have nothing in our area that brings our neighborhoods together, nothing. And the area that I keep seeing seems to be the most viable and probably the least wanted is Berliner Park. Right now it's used seasonally, but a rec center there would be used year-round and could also tie into McCoy Park, which is right next to Berliner Park. I was listening to the other commissioners, and it echoes a lot of what I'm thinking here, that our area seems to be critically lacking in projects that are of a commercial nature to members of the community, and because we lack that, it drives our people living in Stone Ridge or off of Brown Road or any of the areas in our area to other communities, more specifically Grove City. We're like 5 minutes from Grove City. And we're hoping that with the revitalization of Cooper Stadium, that will change because they're planning on putting some upscale apartments in there. But unless we change some of our commercial things coming into our area, not trucking or warehousing, people who live in those upscale apartments will just go to Grove City to drop their dollars. And so I agree with the other commissioners that we have to try to move ourselves away from being commercial trucking, commercial warehousing, commercial whatever, and try to maybe bring in some grocery stores, additional grocery stores. We've got 3. One is Kroger on Harrisburg Pike, and then we have a Save-A-Lot in Central Point, and we have an Aldi there. There's nothing south of that, really, other than Grove City.
So I understand what you're saying. I understand that you're saying basically you need more neighborhood uses that actually serve the neighborhoods in which they reside, not manufacturing.
Correct.
You need retail.
I don't want to say that we feel like we're a dumping ground, but we feel like we're a dumping ground.
Okay.
You know?
And I heard some commonality with what Ms. Neal was saying as well in terms of needing neighborhood scale uses as the zoning code defines them to actually serve the residents of your area commission area. You'd agree with her statement then on that?
Yes.
Okay.
I live in Ridge Village. I'm sorry.
Just because we're running out of time for this phase of our meeting, I wanted to ask. Yes, I wanted to ask the same question really that I posed to Ms. Neal and Mr. Griffin, which was understanding that given the size, the population, and so forth of your area, and again, perceiving there are some differences. For example, Mr. Griffin pointed out that perhaps there's more rural activity going on at this point in the far south area. If you and your neighboring area commissions, the far south and the south side area commission, ended up basically sharing, if you will, a council member, do you think you could work together? Do you think that would work out well, or do you think that your issues and your hopes for this districting project, if you will, are so different that perhaps we need to look at other nearby districts? Do you think you can work with those area commissions and your issues would be similar?
I would certainly hope so, and I am not against working with any commission. I can only learn from them at my stage of where I am right now. I mean,
the challenge will be that we. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. Go ahead.
I was just going to say our challenge is that we have some very tight requirements in terms of population of each of the districts, not necessarily square mileage or geography. Obviously, we want to be sensitive to that as well and to natural boundaries and so forth. But just given the size of your area commission and the others on the south side in terms of population, I see, although again, we haven't gotten to that point. All friends that are represented here so far tonight actually having one council member in common, and just wanted to make sure that we weren't missing some subtext that might make that difficult.
I would love to be able to give you an answer, but I am so new at this, and I can't. I don't.
That's a fair answer. That's a fair answer.
Really
Thank you for your honesty.
I just don't have the expertise and the knowledge and the length of time with the commission to be able to answer you honestly. I would love to be able to sit in with other commission areas and listen in on their meetings, and haven't been able to do that because of COVID. That kind of put a big blockade on a lot of things. So that's what I'm hoping to be able to do, so I can learn more about my community, how my community impacts the South Side community, impacts, we're all close. We all intermingle people coming in and out of our communities. we should be able to all work together on common themes and common, I don't see we couldn't.
Very fine. And again, we have work to do before you get there. We just want to make sure that we're being considerate and intentional about making sure that areas that are grouped together can work together. So thank you. We appreciate your time tonight and that of your colleagues in the other area commissions. I'm going to move us into the next phase of our meeting now, just because we're a little behind schedule, I think. But again, you're welcome to stay on the call. We hope you will. And let me just double check again. Let me make sure that my fellow commissioners don't have questions for you. Mr. Cabot, Commissioner Cabot.
So last week we were on the west side, and as part of our discussion, somebody on that call said, well, where's the Southwest Area Commission? And of course, the answer was there next week when we go to the south side. But inevitably, there are going to be area commissions that are either more west or more south or more east or more north. So I just don't want to make it appear that any promises are being made or any prejudgments are being made about whether the Southwest Area Commission is part of the South or part of the West. We're going to have quite a challenge to come up with 9 districts with approximately 100,000 Columbus residents in each one, and it's going to be very interesting. Any comments that anybody has?
I'll just say that's a very good point, Commissioner Cabot, and I hope I didn't leave an impression otherwise, that we don't know how this is going to shake out. Did any of our area commission representatives have a response to that, or do any of my fellow commissioners? I think that sounds like that was understood, Jeff. So thank you, though, for pointing that out. That was a good point. So we do want to make sure that we have time as well to hear from folks who are participating in our meeting remotely and are using perhaps Facebook or YouTube and are sending us questions. So let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and read some notes here that I should inform you of before we get started with this phase of our meeting. First of all, in order to be respectful of our time, we do ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. I should say our time and your time. For those of you who are joining us on WebEx, we are going to use the hand raising feature to call on speakers. And I believe Ms. Burks is going to help us with that, our moderator. If you look on the right-hand side at the bottom of your screen, you should see a little hand button if you're using the WebEx interface. You can click this to raise or lower your hand. We will monitor and call on attendees with raised hands in the order that we receive them. If you'd rather send your thoughts and responses via email, you can send those to crdc@columbus.gov. And I believe that Ms. Frank is monitoring that mailbox, so we may be able to get back to you before the end of this meeting. For those viewing on Facebook or YouTube, please send comments in the comments section. That is the little boxes that Facebook and YouTube provide for comments. Or again, you can use the same email address, crdc@columbus.gov. As we've said earlier, we're here tonight to hear from you. We did prepare a few questions to help guide our discussion, so I'm just going to read through those very quickly. What do you see as the most important defining characteristic or characteristics of your neighborhood? What neighborhoods do you consider to be a part of your community? What's important for the commission to consider when creating these districts? What would you like to see come from this districting process? What are the biggest needs you see in your community currently? What are the critical issues you see potentially arising in the next 10 years in your community? And last but not least, do you think the city of Columbus is aware and acting on the issues facing your neighborhood? So again, our speakers here on WebEx we're going to ask you to use the raise hand feature. And again, if you'll try to keep your comments under 3 minutes. We did receive some questions, it looks like, through Facebook and YouTube, but I'm not sure if I should read those at this point or we should call on folks who might be waiting on WebEx.
We have 3 people with their hands raised, Mr. Paul, so you let me know when you're ready to take their commentary or questions.
Okay. I think perhaps we should do that, and then we're going to come back and answer some questions that we've received through Facebook or YouTube. So, Angela, please go ahead and introduce our first speaker, if you could.
Certainly. Our first speaker is Bonnie, I believe, Drought. Please forgive me if that's incorrect.
That's correct.
Okay.
Welcome.
Welcome. I am a commissioner for the Far South Commission area, and I want to make sure that you understand that the people that live in this area, the monies are going to Grove City, Groveport, Obetz, Reynoldsburg, Pickerington. There aren't a lot of funds being spent here on the south side of Columbus. If you want to go to a Macy's, you have to go north. For a JCPenney's, north. So we feel like we are the ugly redheaded stepchildren of Columbus because we do not have a sit-down restaurant that we can go to. We don't have retail shops that we can go to and get what we want. We have to travel to other facilities. And that is the problem that we have here on the south side. That's all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'm seeing, again, some of our area commission folks, other area commission folks agreeing with you. So thank you for that. Angela, next speaker.
Yes, our next speaker is Chris Hume.
Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. My name's Chris Hume, and I serve as president of the German Village Society, representing over 500 neighbors dedicated to retaining the character and distinction of the past and our thriving contemporary German Village neighborhood. Our German Village Society Board and our Civic Relations Committee have struggled to understand and appreciate how our unique and historic district and its residents can best be served and represented with this new council districting scheme. Our first thoughts were that we should be part of a district that encompassed all the historic districts in Columbus, but your rules requiring contiguous neighborhoods and communities don't lend themselves to this districting for any reasonable configuration. We then thought we might be best served by looking at common infrastructure issues and city services, but that too is very limiting and it doesn't lend itself to any design. So we've concluded that we could best be served by Columbus City Councils if we seek 2 different geographic considerations as you're drawing your plan. Our first option, in as much of the rules you must follow in drafting the 9 districts require you to follow existing City of Columbus ward and precinct boundaries, we respectfully request that German Village, as designated and created by city ordinance, would be contained as a whole in one city council district. German Village should not be divided into 2 council districts as it's divided into 2 voting districts, City of Columbus wards 2 and 6. The unique interests of German Village are recognized by its inclusion on the National Register of Historic Places and by its already existing architectural oversight by the city's German Village Commission. Those interests could be diluted and disjointed by mixed representation and create unnecessary disunity of purpose. Our second option is to place German Village, Schumacher Place, and Marion Village and their contiguous neighborhoods together in one council district. German Village is a neighborhood of residential properties and small businesses and has little in common with the Capitol Crossroads and Discovery Special Improvement Districts in downtown Columbus. Downtown Columbus has its own financial resources and German Village does not. German Village, with its historic integrity and charming pedestrian-friendly streetscapes, has existing partnerships with our neighbors in Schumacher Place and Marion Village, including civic advocacy and community engagement that will continue to serve its residents. We recognize that the plan adopted in 2021 will be revisited in 2031, By that time, we'll have more experience with an understanding of the districting system, but we believe that these two requests should be observed with all the three of your draft plans. So we look forward to working with our district council representative to enhance our South Side neighborhoods, and we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Chris. That sounds like a very valuable observation that, again, as we were talking about at our last meeting, there are nuances and subtleties that sometimes we won't get just by looking at a map. Sounds like an example of that. Did my fellow commissioners have any questions for Chris? No? Okay. Next speaker. Thank you again, Chris.
We have Jessica Klinger.
Hi. Thank you.
Welcome, Jessica. Hi.
Hi. I also commented on Facebook, so I'll just reiterate my comments here. I'm a young parent who lives in Marion Village, and I'm active in the Marion Village Association and Southside Area Commission in the past, and several parent groups on the South Side. My comments are that I feel like the Southside Area Commission should be retained within one district. I believe it's a walkable and dense area. I would find value in keeping it with other neighborhoods and areas that are dense and walkable, such as German Village and Livingston area and Driving Park. I feel like we have more in common with those areas being dense and walkable, and having a lot of young people in them as well, with young children and parents. So my comment is that I feel like the Southside Area Commission has a lot in common with a lot of the areas more to the north and the east, and I would like to see our council representation reflect that. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. I'm looking to see if we have other speakers who have signed up or left comments in YouTube or Facebook. I'm not seeing any yet, so let me check with our staff here. I have a comment, and I'm not sure who actually has made it, but it's under the name Schumacher Place on YouTube. And I'll just read it. As a member of CCSAC, we do not feel represented currently. I have completed the survey. I'm the president of the Schumacher Place Civic Association. I've served for 4 years. So that sounds a bit like an echo of what we've heard from some other speakers in terms of considering an alignment of some sort between Schumacher Place and perhaps other area commissions and groups in the area. I don't know that, again, part of the reason for this entire process is to make sure that every side, every part of Columbus feels and is represented effectively by our council members. So hopefully this process will improve that situation. And I see now that this is Brenda Gischel. So Brenda, thank you for your comments. And again, I think we'll need to take a look at this as we get into the maps, consider where Schumacher Place is and its neighbors and so forth. But we are taking notes and we will take your suggestions very seriously. And I believe that's all we have in online comments right now. Commissioners, any other questions or thoughts at this point? No? Okay. Well, should we go ahead then and wrap up this phase of the meeting? And then we do also have some other activities we need to take up tonight. So let me thank our community members for engaging with us in conversation and discussion tonight. We've completed the community discussion portion of our meeting and will now continue on with a working session. We invite viewers to stay on, but we want to share the following information before we transition into our working session. Our next meeting will be 1 week from today on Wednesday, June 16th at 5:30 p.m. And that meeting will focus on the north side of the city. All are invited, but we'd especially welcome the attendance of residents of the north side. Look out for more information on how to join this meeting coming out soon. Please take the survey that Naya spoke of earlier. You can find the survey link and more information about this commission's districting work on the CRDC website. Again, that is www.columbus.gov/districting commission, one word. Or if you have questions or comments, you can email the commission at crdc@columbus.gov. And again, we appreciate your time and thank you all again. Chair Moore, I will turn the floor over to you for our working session. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Paul, I thank you so much for reminding folks that survey there, and it's a great way of lifting up the community voice. So as your community wants to be heard, please take advantage of that opportunity to, through the survey, show and reflect the voice, the concern, and the engagement of your particular community. This is indeed the working part of the meeting. And so if any guests have stayed on, I just want you to know that us adhering to the open meeting rules, we televise this section of our meeting, but this is where we do the nitty gritty and kind of get some of the behind the scenes work done. And so today I just wanted to check in with all of the commissioners, and I wanted to remind us all that in our own time, we have the ability to use Google Maps, and we can go ahead and begin playing with some of the maps as we come up with our versions of the maps and possibly think outside the box. I want us to be reminded that us doing work on our own time is perfectly acceptable. And I want to thank our legal counsel and our project lead, Naya Walters, for always helping us and helping us with things we need, but reminding us that we can go ahead if need be and start making some of these maps on our own. When 3 or more of us are together, that is indeed a quorum. And so in adherence to the open meeting laws, we will not be assembling offline. And so, but 2 of us can converse, but the substantial matters we would leave for these meetings. And so I just want to publicly share that with you all, that it will probably be most effectively done working alone as we look at the different ways that we can divide the city. We have notes, and in the near future, we may want to begin to share our notes in a Google Drive and review some of the things or reflect together what we've heard from people as we've been in these sessions. I did not think about it until I heard Commissioner Cabot today mention how easily certain parts of the city could go south as they could west. And I'm imagining that each of us at home alone, looking at our Google Maps, might be able to configure some things where the numbers and the parameters we have to keep the numbers consistent could exist. And so I encourage us all to go ahead and begin ideating, and let's continue to lean on Naya Walters for support, but taking on some of the initiative now on our own as we're now at this stage where we have a meeting next week with our Northland neighbors and 2 other meetings from there. And then we'll be meeting in council chambers to come up with versions of our maps. And so we're at that phase of the work where that's what we're going to begin moving forward. And I don't know if any of you have questions, concerns about what I shared. So I just wanted to open it up for dialogue at this point, and also open it up for our legal liaison to give us feedback as well.
Chair Moore, I will just point out one thing, and you just said, and I appreciate it because I'm from the Northland area. You said our Northland neighbors, but the meeting next week is the North Side meeting. Includes everything from downtown north, I think, including obviously the University District and Clintonville and so forth, folks who may not identify as Northland. That's their loss, I guess, but
and
I just wanted to point out it's the North Side.
I can't thank you enough for sparing me the embarrassment of doing that next week in the presence of our North Side neighbors. And thank you for reminding me that Northland is a part of the North Side, but there is a collection of larger community groups that will be present as well virtually for that meeting. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Paul.
As far as the demographic or population estimates that we're looking at, right? Since we don't have the 2020 census, where are we Do you all have thoughts? I mean, I've heard that the City of Columbus Planning Department was mentioned. But like, I think Commissioner Neal mentioned 2018 estimates. Where would that be? Like census.gov?
That's not an answer I have, but that is definitely a question I'm going to take down after we hear from Nye.
I do not have that answer either. I do know there are some estimates, so I will encourage you to try to Google it, because when I don't know something, I get on Google. I also wanted to point out we do have a hand raised by Miss Bonnie Drought, so I don't know if you all wanted to take an additional comment from her.
Happily, we would love to hear from Ms. Bonnie Drought in our working meeting section of the meeting. Yes.
Miss Angela, could you please, or Miss Lucy, could you please remove Ms. Drought from mute so that she can speak?
I'm sorry, evidently my mouse hit the wrong button. So I don't have anything to say right now.
Well, we appreciate you just being present. So thank you so much for your presence. And while I have you here, I want to encourage you to take the survey, please.
I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Drought, do you know how to lower your hand on your device? Okay, she's all set now. Thank you.
And Chair Moore, I just want to say, to your point, I think, again, the information we received about German Village and how it sees itself in relation to its neighbors, and in particular to downtown, because I think it would have been very easy, obviously it's early, but as we were looking at that, it might have been very tempting to sort of lump downtown and German Village together, even though their issues are perhaps very different. And again, we're not making commitments at this stage. But that's an example of why we do need to look very closely at neighborhoods, at things we can't tell by looking at a map. So that's why these conversations are very valuable, and we thank you for your time.
Great insight. Thank you so much for that, Commissioner Paul. Any other? Whoops.
Can I just share something really quickly? An additional map that you can use is the area commissions map that's on the Department of Neighborhoods. So that will help you all to see that information, and that will give you a little bit better idea of where each of the area commissions are located in terms of our map. And I sent that to you all in an email, I believe, last week, so you should have that map.
Now, will the data in these maps be from 2018 or the most recent census? Do we know where that data comes from?
I do not believe that there's data in the actual map, but the map shows you like the layout in terms of where the area commissions are and their location, not any like actual numerical things, but just to see like when you are contemplating drawing the maps where the area commissions lie. And so when you're thinking about different boundaries, you'll be able to see where certain streets and things lie for further consideration. And I do know that Commissioner Saraswela had emailed me in advance and asked to talk about the survey data. I'll let you guys kind of wrap up whatever other conversations want to happen first, but when you are done, if you want to kick it over to me, and I will talk a little bit more about where we are in terms of survey numbers and responses and things of that nature.
Thank you so much. Commissioners, anything for the good of the order before we move to the next item?
Question for Naya. Thank you. I have a question for Naya, and I'm going to put you on the spot, and you may not have an answer to this right away either, but do we have an idea at this point of what proportion of the population is currently represented within area commission boundaries?
I do not have the answer to that. The Department of Neighborhoods may have that information, but I do not.
And I guess if I could, Chair Moore, I'm going to take the opportunity to explain my question a little bit, or why I'm asking the question. Again, I live in the Northland area, a large area which is represented, not strictly speaking, by an area commission, but by a civic council. And of course, there are many areas in town. I don't know what proportion that's was kind of the point of my question, that don't have either an area commission or a civic council representing them in terms of zoning cases and so forth. And I just want to make sure that those folks know that we're intending to be intentional, if you will, about making sure that they also have the opportunity to speak with us, even though most of the folks we're speaking with are affiliated with area commissions, just because they are groups that routinely help inform the city on zoning issues and so forth, and other issues. But I want to make sure that we are not just looking at area commission areas, but also areas that don't have area commissions or perhaps don't have them yet or are represented by other types of groups. So thank you for letting me editorialize a little bit.
Legal counsel, do you want to have the floor at this time?
Sure. Monica has a question.
I guess I just want to make a general point as we prepare for next week's meeting. I'm just looking at the area commission map, and I guess there's like 8 or 9 that technically fall on the north side. To Commissioner Paul's point, that the north side is very all-encompassing. I guess this is also the council staff. I mean, are we trying to get representation from all those area commissions at next week's meeting? I'm just thinking about time-wise. I want to hear from everyone because I think the north side is very unique. So I just want to make sure that we're all prepared to maybe go a little bit longer to ensure that we have enough time to make sure that we hear from the people that we need to hear from.
I think that might be more of a question for the logistics team from the city than for us as the commissioners. I know as a commissioner, speaking for myself, that I'm prepared to stay until the work is done. I'm seeing nods among the commissioners. Yeah, I don't see us with time limits, but let's check with the city to make sure that the resources that we need to stay in public session are reserved and available to go longer than scheduled time that we've used previously, or not.
So we have reached out through our community engagement team to all the area commissioners. So the area commissioners that are able to be present during that time will be afforded the opportunity. What we can do and what we've been doing is affording people the 3 minutes to speak to ensure that we're still able to stay within our time limit, just to be respectful of you all's time, but also the time of the staff of our recreation and parks locations that are keeping their locations open in order to afford us to meet at these different places. So with that in mind, I don't think it should be a problem in terms of time being able to hear from everyone. But we are mindful of time to make sure that we're not kind of going overboard. But for all the area commissions that respond, they will definitely be afforded the opportunity to speak. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe for us, you know, maybe foregoing next week's working session if need be, in order to provide additional public comment if needed. Maybe we should be prepared for that.
Great point, and plan will be designed with that in mind. Thank you. All right. These are great things, guys. Keep lifting them up. This is the space for us to have these conversations. Again, because we don't have the liberty to have offline conversations, this is where many of these things will come up. So thanks again. If commissioners have nothing else to add right now, I'm going to cede the floor over to our legal counsel.
Sure. So at this time, we have received, I think, around 460 survey responses, and that was as of last week. I get in a report from our marketing partner that has helped us create and disseminate the survey. So we had about 460 responses. So to my surprise, people have been answering all 25 questions. So there are 25 questions still on the survey. So that's been really great to see a full range of was that the demographics of who's filling out the survey kind of are representative of the community as it is, with roughly around 60 to 70% of the survey responses being filled out by people who identify as Caucasian or white, and around 12 to 13% being filled out by those who identify as African American or Black, and then the smaller numbers of our various populations that make up the great diversity of our city make up those remainder. So that was encouraging to me to see that it's being filled out by a diverse population. We are hoping to continue to get more survey responses. My personal goal is to make sure that we at least get 1% of the city, which I think when I spoke with our communications team, is about 1,000 responses. So hoping to get obviously more than that. So we are working with our comms team to promote this survey in a myriad of ways, whether it be on the radio or social media and things of that nature, and working with our partners, especially in our immigrant communities, to make sure that we are reaching out to those people and getting those responses as well. So overall, the survey is going very well, and I look forward to more responses. And I again encourage those of you that are still watching, please fill out the survey. The survey is an additional way for you to give your input, and we look forward to some additional engagements going out to kind of keep that survey stuff moving in terms of responses. Are there any additional questions specific to the survey that I can try to answer?
Would it be appropriate to have us now ask all who have completed the survey and all who are engaged with this process to encourage one or two people from their community to lift up their voices as well to help with that effort? Will we agree that that's a good approach?
I think it's fun to say, if you felt the survey, tell a friend, send it to a friend. I think that's a good strategy. If they know their friends are doing like, oh, that's the cool thing to do, I'll do it too.
All right, neighbors, if you're still on the call, please, if you're engaged, and we want you to please connect with other people from your community to make this effort a collective effort, an effective collective effort. Thank you. Nia Walters, is there anything else you have for the good of the order? Yes, please. Okay, so in keeping with many of the technical problems we've had, we've lost the Wi-Fi connection. I don't hear myself on the call. I think it may be gone. Am I still on?
We can hear you, Malik.
Excellent, thank you. And so let's, in closing and in reinforcing this effort, this message of the collective and the community voices being lifted up, I want to share with us all the link to this survey once again. The easiest place to find it is if you just go to www.columbus.gov/districting commission. And there you should see a link that'll take you to the SurveyMonkey survey, which again, if you were to Google SurveyMonkey Columbus Districts, Columbus, Ohio, you'd likely find the survey. But again, all things related to the work that we're doing as a commission can be found at columbus.gov/districting commission. So thanks again to my commissioners. Thank you to all from the city who are supporting us in this effort. And thank you to the neighbors who, without your voice, this work is ineffective. And so with this, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.